Some Good Tea, where we drink some tea and we share some tea. I'm your host, Katie, and today I'm sharing some tea with my friend Shay. Do you want to say hello?
Hi.
Guys, we're so excited to be recording this podcast today. Shay and I have been looking forward to it like all week long. But the tea that we're having is by Stash, and it's their Mango Passionfruit tea. I like this tea, but as everybody on the podcast knows, I pretty much like all of the tea that we have on here. But I'm very curious to hear what you think of it, Shay.
See, I was gonna compliment you on it
Oh,
before we started because I was one, I'm a huge mango girly.
oh,
Like anything mango, I'm a huge fan of. So when I pulled it out of like the package, like when I got the package in the mail, and I saw that I was mango, I was like, oh my gosh. Like I don't know. Did I
oh.
tell you that I was a mango person? I feel
No,
like that's
no,
not something I bring up in like
we
regular
didn't talk about it at
conversations.
all. That makes me sound like really cool, and I'm not.
But no, yeah, it's delicious. I'm also like not a big tea drinker. But this is like one of those that I could probably buy or like I have a whole box now that I can just
No, you
take and
do.
enjoy. Even gave me like a little like iced tea recommendation as well when we were talking about it earlier. So that's also something that I'm excited to try because mango iced tea is also
Oh,
like
doesn't
the
that
most
sound
wonderful
amazing?
thing.
Yeah.
Well, I know. I mean, I know that that's something that I enjoy because I can like buy that in the store, and I
Yeah.
always do. Like if I see it in the grocery store, and I can hack it that week. I'm like, you know what? I think it's the mango tea.
Splurge, get some mango tea. Yeah. Anyway, not that that isn't really good tea, but the other tea that we're going to be talking about today is all about writing and creativity and creating your own world through words, which I'm super excited about. Um, as per usual, guys, we're going to be rolling a 20-sided dice and asking each other questions. Um, and we'll see what the dice decide. Sometimes the dice are kind and sometimes they're not. Oh, snap. Uh, we got a 2 on the dice. So the question is, starting out strong, could you read us something from a piece that you've written that you haven't really shared with anyone yet?
Haven't shared with anyone. Dang, now I gotta go get my laptop. I was gonna say, like, I literally, like, I brought my book out,
That's so
and I figured
cool.
that, like, at some point, I would, like, I don't know, talk about it. I guess it was more of like a think piece, or not like it was like so I could look at it. One
Yeah,
second, I have to get my laptop,
hey,
wherever that is.
it's really good
Here
to
it
be
is.
prepared. I just really like, and my dice apparently really like to catch you off guard. So, your question is, could you read us something that you have yet to share with anyone and you found like a little snippet? You want to go ahead?
But I also feel like I have to add a little bit of backstory to it. So
Yeah,
I am half
absolutely.
Puerto Rican.
Okay.
And when I like in the past few years, I've been really trying my best to reconnect with my culture. Like I
Oh.
was not really raised with a lot of the traditions or the habits of it or whatever.
Mhm.
So I've been trying really hard to reconnect. And I wrote this piece and I did submit it to publication, and I just don't think that I ever got a response back. So I'm like just might have been denied or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But it was the theme for it or the prompt was lost in translation. And for me, that means not being able to understand Spanish, even though half of my family is from or speaks Spanish. So that is where this came from
Okay.
and I have a little paragraph.
I'm so excited.
The Taino sun was like a thousand spirits getting revenge on Lupe's white skin, which turned too pink too fast and left her with an ache in her body that was constantly on the back of her mind. Lupe was half Puerto Rican, and her family fled La Isla a long time ago. She was the first to step back onto its soil in decades. Lupe had always felt more like a fraud than a member of the diaspora, with pale skin and light eyes and a monolingual tongue that dubbed her obviously American, barely New Rican. Her mother was the first to lose Spanish, so for Lupe, she never had the chance to try. Her grandparents were curious foreign souls that did not speak her language, and she did not speak both theirs and her mother tongue. Her mother named Lupe for her grandmother Guadalupe, but she was never able to speak to her namesake, the bridge between them broken and burned, before Lupe had even learned to speak.
Oh, oh my gosh. Oh, that is so, I love that. I loved that.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is one of those, like at the moment I found it, I was like, this is the one, because this is one of those pieces that's really special to me.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it hasn't really been shared with many people. So thank you for giving me the space to share it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is, I want to know what happens, but I also like, I want to know what happens for you in your story too. I love that this is like almost like a reflection of your own real life journey with reconnecting. That's so cool. That's super cool. Oh my gosh. What a great opener, you guys. This is great. This is super great. Dang. Um, so with that very, very lovely reading, we'll move on to the next question. This is going to be for me. Oof. We'll see how this goes. Wow. That is a 7, still not getting out of the single digits. Um, what writers have helped you become the author or writer that you are? Um, and you can chime in with this too, Shay. That's kind of, we kind of end up, I feel like, in these episodes just kind of bouncing back and forth. But for me, there's a lot. I read a lot growing up and then into like my young adult years and all of that. And there were a lot of different like genres and authors that influenced me and my own creativity. It's hard to pin down just one that I would say is like the most formative for me. Uh, uh, it's kind of ironic that I've gotten to a point where I enjoy writing and reading so much because when I was really little, my parents actually thought like they were worried that I was like developmentally delayed going into like elementary school and stuff because I hated reading so much I pretended that I couldn't. Um, and I don't know what happened. Well, okay, I do know what happened. I discovered Tolkien and which seems like a big jump for a kid that like hates reading. Like I was young too. And then I discovered what fantasy was and the king of fantasy and just jumped into it from there. So I feel like it's cliche a little bit to say that it was like Tolkien's work that really got me started, but there's also been quite a lot of others. I've always really enjoyed like suspense and I love a good murder mystery. Like so good. So there's quite a lot there that has influenced me as well. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to pin it down to just one.
I the funny thing is I was the complete opposite as a kid, and that's
Yeah.
that's really like the two. I think there's the kids who enjoy reading, and then there's the kids who just like reading, but then like they both kind of find their niche. It's like you have to find a way,
Yeah.
or like a niche that they enjoy.
Mhm.
Everybody will at one point enjoy reading. But I was one of those kids that became literate really fast. And
Yeah.
so I was reading, like, Harry Potter was like read in like first grade.
Oh,
Um, I was reading like Anne Frank's diary by third. Like I was
girl.
very hyper, like reading everything. And another thing that is very, I guess, peculiar about my reading habits is that I don't necessarily look at the author when when I'm picking books. Like I don't read a lot of repeat authors. I think if you like truly if you go down my story graph, like I have not read anything by like more than one like this like by the same author.
Yeah, you
Um
like jump around. You're looking for the
yeah,
story more than the author.
exactly, exactly. And I also, I'm surrounded by a bunch, being in the indie author community, I have so many authors who are or friends who are authors. Um and getting, to read their work and interact with their work. So I think that my writing style really does come from an entire like place
Yeah.
of everything.
Hmm.
Um but yeah, yeah.
No, I love that. I love that. That's a good question. Should we do another one? Okay, this one will be for you. We'll see if I chime in. Oh my goodness. We have a natural 20. Um,
Okay.
okay. Natural 20s, I always try to make sure this is a good question, a quote unquote like safe question. Um, this question is what got you started writing?
Um, so I guess kind of going back to me being very literate at a young age, I've also said that like I have wanted to be a writer like since they taught me to write.
Oh my gosh, it's so cute.
um, so this has been a prevalent thing throughout my entire life. I remember I want to say it must have been like first grade. And one of the things that you do when you're learning to like write or whatever, is you do like creative writing time and you like put together these little books and you can like read the stories out loud to the class.
Uh-huh.
And I would write these like short stories and then I would like go up to present them to the class. And I was always asking for like creative writing time. I was always asking to like be part of this, but really specifically in let's what like first grade, we had an open house where we had one of these like stories that we had written on display. And on the cover, I had written and illustrated by Shay. And
Aw.
my stepdad started laughing and I was like, why are you laughing at it? I was like hurt by it. And he was like, what
Yeah.
kind of first grader knows the word illustrated, like how to spell it and everything?
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
And I think about that all the time.
oh my gosh.
I mean, I think I
Oh,
don't think it was less of like I didn't take it as like a hurtful thing. I took it more of like a you're right. Like what kind of first grader can spell
yeah.
out the word illustrated? Like it is kind of like funny to see, the word illustrated written in crayon in like a first
And
grader's handwriting.
on like that like craft paper that's kind of fuzzy and yeah. I
Exactly.
think that's the cutest thing. Like, oh my gosh. Do you still have some of that stuff from way back then?
I unfortunately don't.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that though. That's so freaking cute. And like look where you are now, girl. That's so cool. Oh my gosh. Oh my
I always
gosh.
have to like tell myself, I always have to be like, I am living like my childhood dream. Like when when people ask the like, what do you want to be when you grow up question, like I did that when I grew up. I at least stuck to my guns.
That's cool.
And yeah, to be able to achieve to have my name on books is a really special dream.
Yeah, that's super cool. I love that. For me, as we kind of like briefly talked about, absolutely hated reading. I hated writing. I don't really know why. Like as a kid, I have no idea why. Like this is the thing that I hated. But I did. And the only thing that I liked reading because you're in school and they make you read stuff out loud and they make you practice your penmanship and all the things. And at home, the only thing my parents could get me to read out loud was like comic books and stuff. And like I read a lot of Garfield when I was really little because I liked cats And Garfield was funny, and that was like the only thing they could get me to do. And then yeah, like I kind of discovered Harry Potter and Tolkien and kind of like the fantasy genre all around the same time. And that's what changed my perspective on reading. Um, and it was around that same time that my mom, like, bless her heart, in not the Southern sense, in like the good sense, like truly, truly bless that woman. She's so smart. I think I was, I don't know, like 9 or 10. And she sat me down and she was like, Katie, I got you this little journal. I want you to write me stories of whatever you want to write about. I want you to write them in here, and you don't have to show them to your teachers. And it's not about grading. Like, I just think you would really like this if you would just do this. And that was right around.
Cute.
I know, it was so cute. Like the cutest thing. She helped, I think, remove a lot of pressure. I've always been very conscientious, and I was really shy as a kid. And I think part of why I didn't enjoy reading and writing was because of the assignment nature, and the I felt judged, if I read out loud and I didn't do it perfectly. So I think she helped to remove that in doing that, and just being like, look, this is just our thing. So I'll always be grateful to her for that, because as soon as I started writing these little made up stories, I couldn't stop. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I could not spell to save my life. And, they were truly garbage, I'm sure. I don't remember what any of them were about, but I know they were just like funny, cutesy little fantasy stories. And it blossomed from there for me. And writing became something that has always just been a joy ever since, which was really cool. um, but yeah, that's how that happened.
That's so cute. And like I I used to get in trouble for writing like in class because I would, instead of like taking, they would assume I was taking notes, but I am not.
Oh my gosh.
I used to get I used to get in trouble because, or and like get like notes sent home because I would be like writing little stories in class. So like um
It's
it
funny.
was like stuff I was getting in trouble for, but also like my parents are a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
but they at least were like supportive of me and my writing habit. Like
Oh,
I can give them credit where they deserve it.
good.
Um
It's good.
and yeah, so like my parents were always, making sure I was well stocked with composition books. And when I transitioned to being older, they made sure I had a laptop,
Yeah.
and all of the things I needed. And my stepdad, I remember he used to like have these like long talks with me about how like he knew people in the publishing industry. And honestly, this was just like him like speaking nonsense. It wasn't it. I don't think it was anything. But he was
Yeah.
like, yeah, like write, fill up this composition book, and I will give it to like my people I know in the publishing industry. Um,
Oh, that's so
and
cute.
I never like finished the book, but I remember
Wow.
I wrote this entire like you said, they're garbage stories. They're not like good at all. But it was like a Greek, I was obsessed with the Greek gods at the time. So it
Ooh,
was like a Greek god in high school thing. So it was very much like Aphrodite and her family are hiding from XYZ. I don't remember what the main plot was.
yeah.
But Aphrodite falls in love with a human, and like
So
it's
cute.
forbidden.
I
It
love
was super nothing.
it. But it's a,
But oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's a starting place. And I freaking love that your parents were like, here you go, here's all the notebooks, here's the laptop, do the thing. Like they probably read some of your stuff and were like, yep, this is trash, but you know what? Our daughter our daughter did it.
Dude, I don't actually ever think they read any of my things, but that's okay because I was
That's
always very
okay.
secretive of it anyway.
That is okay. That is okay. I've been a closet writer a long time. That is okay.
Exactly. You don't want them to read the stuff. You want them to be like, go write, but you don't want them to read what you
No,
wrote.
no, not at all. Not at all. Oh my gosh. That's so fun. I love hearing about how people get started with things. And that's actually so cute. I like you got in trouble. You got in trouble because you wrote too much. Well, I think we have time for another question. This is 12. So this is for me. Did you take classes, study English, go to conferences, etc., etc.? How did you learn your craft? Um, obviously, like high school, right? That happened. And I did actually, because by the time I had gotten like I was in high school, I really enjoyed writing. Um, but I was kind of like I said, a closet writer. I did not share anything. It was mostly just me like writing stories for funsies and keeping it to myself. But in high school, I did take an AP English class because I just enjoyed the English language finally at this point. Um, and wanted to write more and wanted to like learn more. So I did kind of like I did that. It was a very like it was AP English. It wasn't specific to creative writing. But I did enjoy that class very much. In college, I actually thought about getting a minor in English because exclusively because I liked it, not because it was applicable to my degree that I was working towards. Um, and then I remembered that I was really busy and had no money. And so I didn't end up doing an English minor. So there was too many other classes that I had to take. Which was fine. I think I'm kind of glad because the few English classes and stuff that I did take for my generals, it was enjoyable, but when I'm pressured to write for an assignment, it sucks. And I don't like being
Definitely.
yeah. And I don't like being given a topic. Like I like my freedom. um I like to be able to choose what I'm going to write about and how long I'm going to do it for and that type of thing. I did end up doing because I was heavy in the sciences. I did end up doing a lot of like writing for research purposes, which is very different than creative writing. I got good at it, and I did actually enjoy it when I was allowed to like pick what I was going to be writing about, or it was like a research project that I was on, so I could write about something I was interested in. But scientific writing is very different from um, every other kind of writing. So that's really like the classes that I took. But as far as like how I learned, I just wrote. I would just write and I would just read. I would read other people's works. I would beta read for people. And I would just write. I would just write a lot. That's that's it. That's how
I
I
think
learned.
that's the I think that's like that's literally like the best advice. Like that's the best way to go about it. I like that's what any author will tell you. Is like,
Yeah.
yeah, the best way to do it is to just keep doing it and keep moving forward. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm the same way. I haven't had any official like fancy schmancy training. I did like honors English. It wasn't like an AP class. It was just like it was like a above average class. All 4 years of high school.
Mhm.
And I did not apply myself in high school, so that did not go well. But
That's
but
okay.
like I had like that sort of, I guess, background academically. For college, my college major is elementary education. So there was, a few classes where the big focus was teaching kids how to read, teaching kids how to write, and like getting that sort of um, like grasp on teaching other people to do it. Kind of like gives you, I feel like I am an above average like punctuation slash grammar slash speller, just
Yeah.
because I've had to like so much experience with like the classes and like the way you have to teach kids to read and write. So I guess that might have played a big part of it as well. But like you said, it is just a lot of just like writing new things, writing over and over again.
Mhm.
Um, I did a challenge back in March. I think it was March, where I wrote out a prompt list back in like
Ooh,
February. So for 30 days, I wrote a short story every single day, and by the end of it, I was exhausted. Like it
yeah.
was a strenuous exercise, and like you wouldn't even think it would be until you're on like day 17 of pulling a new short story out of your brain
Your
and
brain.
like
Oh
there's
my
nothing
gosh.
left.
Like that sounds it sounds like the fitness challenges that people are really into where they're like, I'm gonna go from not being able to run at all to like doing a marathon in 2 months or whatever. Like that mentally,
Exactly.
that's what that sounds like to me. I want to do that so bad, but my brain is like, no, stop. What are you thinking? Holy crap.
I literally set like a reminder on my phone and then was just like super strict about keeping myself like accountable and like holding myself to it. But no, it got difficult. And like there would be a few times where like I would skip like 2 or 3 days, but then I would have to sit down and write three short stories like on that third day to
Yeah.
catch up.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, no, it was yeah, definitely a hard exercise, but one of those where I was able to grow it as a writer. And I started, here in New York, there's so many opportunities to grow as a writer, like different places. Um, so I've gone to like different events. There's this we have this really cool place here in New York. It's called Book Club Bar, or I think it's just Book Club or Book Bar, something like that. But it's in the Lower East Side, and it's a bookstore slash bar. So it's open pretty late. Like you can buy alcohol at it. You can sit at the bar and read a book, and like no one will bother you. It's a whole thing, and I love it.
That sounds
And one of the events,
amazing.
no, yeah, it's one of the greatest places. If you ever come to New York, that's number one recommendation if you're like a huge book person,
Dude,
and not really like a
yeah.
nightsy person. But one of the events that they throw on in the store is called Drink and Draft. So you like buy the ticket or whatever, and you get a free drink, and then you all sit down and they show you like images, and you like write a short story or write whatever comes to you. Like with that image. So like I've had practices with like that sort of thing. I've done a few like writing groups. Um, so yeah, really, it really all just boils down to practice writing as much as possible, and then like just building a community of writers who are also like on this journey with you. Because another big aspect of my writing and the growth that I've had in my writing, especially in the last year, um, is like the poetry committee. I started performing poetry back
Oh,
in, I want to say, January.
dang.
Um, and the community that you build at these events are incredible, and have definitely become like a much better writer and expresser, and like more vivid in my descriptions just based off of like being around them and hearing the things that they've written.
Yeah, yeah. That's something that we haven't talked about too much, but like exposure to other genres, to other creators, to their work, to their prose, whether it's poetry or your like traditional novels or what have you. like having a broad exposure in what you read, I feel like is just as important in improving on your own skills. Um, and oh gosh, I'm so jealous of bar. That sounds so chill. That sounds so, so chill. Dang. I mean, I haven't been to New York in a while, but that's gonna have to be on my list of where I go when I come and visit the East Coast again. That sounds so, so good. Well, I think we
A couple.
Mhm.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think this is almost as much as we have time for today, but before we go, do you want to tell me and our all of our two listeners about your current work?
So, I don't think we did like a proper, not, or like it was me, it was my own fault, but I didn't do like a proper introduction in the beginning. So my name Shay Miranda, and I am a published author, and I have two books out. Um, but what I really wanted to talk about was my upcoming release, which comes out on the 8th of August. I don't know when this episode is going to drop, but it'll come out on the 8th of August. So if it's past that, it's already out. And the 8th of August is my 26th birthday. So I think you're really dedicated to having to go buy it as like a little birthday present for me.
Oh my,
Um,
yes, guys, check it out. Shay is wonderful. I have looked at some of your other work already. I love it very much. I'm very excited for this new one. Definitely check it out. And
excited that you're excited.
happy birthday. Oh my gosh. What a nice birthday
Oh,
present to yourself.
I know. It was like fell on a Tuesday, and I was like, I only can do this like once every 7 years because of like I don't know the way birthdays work. So I was like, I better throw one in there and make
You
sure
gotta
it happens.
make sure it works.
Um,
Oh,
but yes, the book is it's called One More Hour. It's a novella, so it's very short. It's a very teeny tiny book, but I'm honestly a huge advocate of shorter books just because we don't all have time to be reading 400-page books all the time. Sometimes you just want to read like a short little, I think One More Hour is like 150 pages. But like you take it to the park, you take it to the beach, call it a day.
mhm.
Um, but it's about a playwright and an actor in New York who they spend a single night together. The book takes place over the course of a single day. And they're both kind of dealing with different life struggles. And these struggles also relate to like the reality of what's also going on in New York today. So Daphne is struggling to find a landlord willing to rent an apartment to her because she doesn't make enough like of an income
Yeah.
versus the uh the other main character, his name is Raf. His family has lived in his rent stabilized apartment for his entire life, and just recently, in real life, the rent guidelines board for New York City just approved I want to say it was a 7% increase for rent stabilized apartments in New York City within the next year, which is one of the biggest increases that we have ever seen. It raises by like 1 to 2% usually, but a lot of landlords have been lobbying recently to try to get these apartments emptied. They are essentially wanting to make sure that the people living inside can't afford to pay them.
Yeah.
Um, so those two things are very prevalent things that are affecting New York. And I think all of the United States in general, because I've also heard
I
about,
agree.
there's a housing crisis in Salt Lake City, and
Oh my
there's a
gosh.
housing crisis in Boston. And I feel like this is something that could probably, even though it's so very specific to New York in like the idea of like needing a guarantor and the idea of
Mhm.
needing or of like rent stabilization,
Yeah,
it is still a very prevalent discussion.
I
And
agree.
so they spend the night together, and they kind of just talk to each other, take comfort in each other's company.
Mhm.
They talk about how important it is to grow community, to cultivate those sort of relationships, because those are the people that are going to support you in times like this. A lot of discussions on like fate and um, why are things happening in this way? And one of my favorite conversations about people who are born to be creative.
Ooh,
So I have a very like, there's always the stereotype that, if you're going to be an artist, you're going to struggle and you're going to starve and you're going to be poor.
yeah.
And it's like, why? Like, why are those things not paid?
Yeah.
Like, why do we have to go through that in order to produce something that is very important to humanity as a whole?
Yeah.
So lots of great conversations, lots of great ideas, and it's a story that I'm very, very proud of.
Oh, gosh, I'm really excited to read it. And yeah, it sounds like very, very timely message for people right now, very relatable message. Like even me, I thankfully found my current housing uh by chance, I swear, because it's rough. It's rough out there and I don't see where it's headed, but um a very timely message, I think, for us to enjoy and think about and be able to take part in this little novella. I'm very excited. I love novellas. I'm not good at writing them because I talk too much. I write too much. I've never been good at making it short, but I really like reading novellas because you can get so much out of them.
I have the opposite problem. I write too little. I tried
Okay.
so desperately to make this into like over 50,000 words to like really call it a novel.
Yeah.
And it never made it. And I think in a big part of it was the timeline of it all is that it only does take place in a day.
Yeah.
And there's only so much that I could write about a day, which is why it just ended up being in a novella instead. But yeah, I'm the opposite. I write too little. I'm such a severe underwriter. It's not even funny.
Oh, yeah. I wish I could figure out how to just keep it short, but it's okay because to every yin there is a yang, and we got to have both sides of the coin to keep it all balanced. And yeah, I'm just so excited to read this. And for other people to be able to read it too. Thank you so much for sharing your stories and for sharing your writing and for being on my podcast. This has been so fun.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Well, technically, I invited myself, but that's fine.
Really
Thank you
fun.
so
I
much.
think like a mutual inviting happened.
Thank you for giving me like the space to be here and talk with you today. You had amazing questions. And yeah, no, we had a great talk and great tea as well.
It is
Finished my cup.
good tea. I hope you enjoy the rest of that box. Definitely give it a try icing it. It's delicious. Hopefully it keeps you nice and cool on these hot summer days. Guys, this has been so much fun. This is all we have time for today, but we will talk at you later.